Hello everybody. It's the end of July, a hot summer day outside, and today I want to show you a very special collection that I believe it's my best body of work for this year and maybe from ever since I started bookbinding. Some of it is right behind me here in these boxes, and you may recognize it that this is the Pillars collection. And there is a video on my channel that showcases a bit of the Pillars collection, and it's a bit of a lazy one, I admit, but we were so immersed in working on these books that we felt that we would become very distracted if we decided to film a making of process. And whenever I try to make something really special, I try not to film. I hope you understand, but today I'm going to be making one of these showcases that I've recently took upon to make more frequently. And in the beginning I said this is a very special collection for me, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, it's one of the big joint projects that me and my father did together after the Godot book you saw in the previous video, and it was a lot of work. I mean, these books have massive amounts of silver and fitted with gemstones, and the work took really long. I mean, it probably took about 4 months, I'm not sure, but I am sure that my dad began working on the silver fittings for the larger journal about a month prior, before I started making the books. Secondly, this is the first time I've used really quality leather for bookbinding. Before that I was supplying locally and just whatever I found best I used it on my books, but this is the absolute best. It was costly, I admit, but I felt a bit pressured because the supply I've been buying leather previously here in Bulgaria had at one point didn't have the leathers I used in stock. So I started buying from abroad, and I'm not sure. I don't regret it. The leathers are wonderful, but I really wish that there were some tanneries here locally that I could support. Anyway, another property of these books is that I believe it's one of the first times that I've actually managed to convert an influence I had into a design that was, how should I say, a bit different, a bit inspired, maybe is the right word. Because for years I've been looking at Byzantine and old Bulgarian bindings, medieval ones that are basically binding manuscripts, religious ones mostly, and it has a very peculiar design, most of these bindings, and it consists of lines blind tooled on the leather and in specific shapes. And I always thought that these designs are so primitive. I can emulate them once or twice, but really can't build upon on these markings, and I don't understand them. But with these books, I actually said to myself, I don't care if I don't understand them. I'm going to change them. I'm going to believe in what I think they represent, morph them into something different, and hide them between layers of gold and other blind tool decorations, and it really worked. And And from then on, from these journals, I've been chasing this style to see where exactly can I go with it. And I don't know what else to say. It's a very special collection for me and for my father as well. And it's still available for sale. And before I jump into the showcasing of each of the 5 books, if anyone is interested, you can see the links in the description where you can see pathways to my website. You can read additional information about them, check the current prices, and so on and so forth. And thank you for watching these videos, and I hope you enjoy what I have in store for you today. Thank you. So while showing you the first book, I'm also going to demonstrate an unboxing of the box that they ship in. Basically, this is a transportation box. It's not a design handmade box for somehow magnifying the beauty of the book or something like that. No, it's just for protection, and it's made from plywood, and I've applied my logo in front of it. And it's basically, I'm not sure if I'm going to do such unboxings in the future, but for now this is how it's going to be transported. So inside, the book is in a linen bag. They're actually all of the linen bags that my books come in. They're made by my mother, who also helped out, as you can see. And so there are a bit of clippings, paper clippings inside. I'll just remove this for now. And the book is inside the linen bag. This is the smallest one from the collection. There are 2 of these, and they're basically called the Pillars of Past. I'll explain why in a minute. I'm just going to do a bit of close-up. And the whole philosophy of this collection is basically moving between 3 stages. The first one is the Pillar of Past, and in my idea was that this is a decoration from the past. And in reality, even though it's somewhat of a tradition around these lands, I can't remember it. It's been severed quite some time ago, a few centuries ago actually, and nobody's been doing this until now. And this is an unorthodox format, and the lining follows this unorthodox format. And the golden tooling, I wanted to hide a bit of the decoration. Basically, this is something of a, how to say it, wind of forgetfulness or something like that. And it hides the decoration, meaning it's still somewhere in the past. I still can't remember it properly. That's why I've done it in this unorthodox manner. And so this is the idea behind it. And now for some more technical details. This is goat skin, terracotta colored, and the silver is a standard of 950, and as you can see, it's done in 2 layers. The one which is the base, which is a darker tone, and the polished upper layer, which is the same silver, just not patinated and polished. And in the center of the central pieces there are 2 3mm garnet gemstones. The blind tooling was done first. The whole surface is coated in shellac glare, and after that the gold tooling has been done. These are the clasps, but before that the leather braided end band. And most of these tools are made by myself, I mean the decorative tools, or by my dad. And I've decided to leave my maker's mark on the back here. Opening them up. And inside I've used a pretty neat hand paper, and the end papers are in a ledger style, as is the whole book. This is traditionally a ledger style. Ledger style meaning that the sewing goes through the leather joint. And inside there's the cream colored paper that most of my books are filled with. The next showcases won't be so long, but just wanted to pay some attention to these minor details. On to the next one. The next pillar of past is the same size as the first, and the same idea, the same central silver pieces, and again, if you've forgotten the philosophy behind this, basically distorted traditional decoration hidden behind gold tooling, which represents winds of forgetfulness. And this time I've used my set of leaf tools, which were heavily inspired by Douglas Cockerell's designs. And again, the silver fittings are in 2 layers, one darker and one polished. The spine is the same as the previous one. Maker's mark on the bottom, and the leather weaved headbands. I've used the same hand paper and the same style of sewing on the end papers as the previous ones. Basically all the 5 books have the same style of sewing, and you can see on the inside our method of constructing the fittings. Basically these are silver nails made by my dad again, and they are I'm not sure if it's the correct word, but riveted on the front side. Very, how should I say, ancient way of doing things. The most recent books don't have this method of fastening, but I'll explain when the time comes with the later books. So this is the pillar of past 2, and I'll be moving on now to the larger format. The next set of books is significantly larger than the previous ones. Bound in the same terracotta goatskin as the smaller ones. These ones having a central piece, but don't have a fixed gemstone. And actually the silver fittings consist only of one layer, while the ones in the previous size are from 2 layers. But I really enjoy the simplicity here. It's not simplicity, it's still over decorated as most of my works. It's just something I like to do. But these larger ones, I've named them the pillars of memory. And what I wanted to say here is that basically in this second stage, it's like I'm starting to somehow remember how it's done. And the book format is, again, unorthodox. However, the decoration is a lot more proportional, a lot more filled, not that masked and hidden behind layers of gold, but the fact that these winds of forgetfulness are somehow not that prevalent this time doesn't mean that they're not a factor in this design as well. So basically there's a small sign of its presence in these decorations, but this time it's somehow, its force is headed in a different direction. Just to zoom in a bit more in the blind tooling. And this leather is just perfect for blind tooling. It's quite a joy, very flexible. I've used for this one this decorative wheel throughout the whole length and width of the covers. These lines were done with a palette, and most of these tools are again made by me. The one that isn't made by me is actually this circle flowery tool that I use very, very often. It's so simple, but I always find a place for it. But the other ones I've engraved myself from an old incomplete alphabet I bought off eBay. And the gold tooling is mostly with leaves, flowing in one direction, and small spaces filled with gold dots. The silver is, I don't know how to say it, but it was a really forward step in development for my dad, as he wasn't used to making these, we call it a jour, I think it's from French origins. Basically, when you have a design which is not completely filled but has these spaces of air. And this time The spine is not the same as the smaller books, but again follows a bit of its style. I've left this space blank in the back. It's not because of some deep symbolism, just I liked how it looked. And the headbands are again woven from leather strips. The edges are sprinkled with potassium permanganate solution. And it's a pretty large book. This is A4, but folded by its width, not by its length. And I've used the same hand paper for the end papers, but I've used a different type of leather for the leather joint that is on the cover. Basically, I use the leather from the headbands, which is a different tone, a bit more orange rather than terracotta, and just sprinkled again with potassium permanganate to darken it a bit. And again, the insides are the cream colored blank paper. On to the next one. The second pillar of memory is again in the same format as the previous one, following the same philosophy, which if you missed from the previous example, it's basically doing a more orthodox type of decoration, but still somewhat affected by the winds of forgetfulness, but this time not so intensely. And again, the beautiful letter provided me with excellent space to try out these decorations. And again, you can see that the central motif of the blind tooling is the rhombus. Basically, all of these old manuscripts somehow incorporate this figure in the middle or somewhere else, and the spaces that it leaves behind are decorated. So, in reality, all of these books, the decoration of these books is that I've constructed a framework and then purposely somehow disrespect the framework. But my excuse for this is that I've forgotten how to respect it properly, which is the truth. I'm not a resident of the past times. I'm not somehow raised in the philosophy, the lifestyle that this, and I don't know, the thoughts that invented these symbols and decorations. But I want to continue using them. And again, the silver work is one layer. These are the nails by which it's fixed. Actually, no, these are decorative. The nails are on the inside of the cover, but hidden beneath the paper. and you can see that they are riveted here, 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 and these 3 points as well. The clasps are fixed by 2 points, but there is a nail on the inside of this wall here, which goes directly on the inside of the cover. And another thing of the clasps is that this is the first time we thought of these borders, which is twisted wire, silver wire, which is then flattened to achieve the and soldered onto this piece, making it more stable and more beautiful. And by this point, I suppose many of you are thinking, what am I supposed to write in this book? And I've thought so myself. In some ways, this is not the most comfortable book for writing, and traditionally this ledger style has been used mostly for accounting. If you can imagine splitting it in the middle, income, expense, and so on and so forth. But I don't imagine this being used as an accounting book. In my imagination, I believe it would be great for poetry, especially long poetry, and for preserving memories. After all, the whole theme of these books is memory, the past, and paying homage to the people from the past which invented these treasures, these decorations, these structures of bookbinding, and whatever else craft or art you might think of. And while we are on the topic of homage, it's due time I present the gem of this collection after a short while. So the third book from the Pillars collection is the largest one, and I'm not sure if I can actually fit it properly with this shot. But here it is. This is the last book, the fifth book from the collection, the Pillars collection, and I've named it The Pillar of Homage. And why is that? With this third book, it's how should I explain? I wanted to make a statement. And the statement is that I'm never going to understand the past in its essence. I'm never going to be able to replicate it, nor is there a reason to pursue this goal. So the best thing you can do after going to the past, remembering the past, is to pay homage to it in your own particular way. So this fifth book was me and my dad's own particular way of paying homage to our inspirations, to our influences. And we really did our best, I think, at the time. This book was a lot of work, and I'll start with my dad's contribution to it, which is every cover has 4 corners on the inside and the outside of the cover, and 2 clasps. And each corner is again with 2 layers of silver, a standard of 950. And I'm not sure if I can make a good shot and produce a good shine because of my angle, but each corner has 6 sapphires, and in the center a 4mm citrine gemstone. And we've also made these like buttons on each side, so the book, when laid down, actually lays down on these buttons. And the clasps again have a 4mm citrine in the middle. With a bit of engraving on the inside, which is reflective of the branch on the outside. And the headbands are again woven from leather strips, but this time contrasting the blue goat skin with this natural vegetable tanned kangaroo leather. And as you can see, actually the final emulation of this rhombus decoration that I wanted to make prevalent in these books is here on the spine of this book. Here it actually shines rather than being masked by the winds of forgetfulness. And in the bottom one, I've engraved my initials as a maker of this book. And I guess I should not forget the gold tooling, which is something I even surprise myself when I look at it now. I think, wow, how did I did this? How did I have the patience for this? But I was really motivated. As I said, this was my kicking the door in, so to say. And it may be intimidating at first, but it's a repeating pattern. Each of these elements you see are individual toolings. The branches, the leaves, the poppy seed pods. But in reality, I had to design a short segment and repeat it continuously. It's the same on the back cover. And on the inside, the edges are sprinkled with a solution of methylene blue. So in the inside I wanted a bit of contrast again. So these are painted hand papers. Again, a leather joint with a sewing to it in a ledger style, and a lot of blank paper. And yeah, for now this is my crown work, I think. And I'm not sure if I I have the resonance to do something like this again. But what am I saying? Of course, you can't stay in one place forever. Even though this was very tiring, I'm sure that maybe next year or the year after that I'll try to push beyond this in some way. So this was the Pillars collection. I hope you enjoyed these 5 books, and I know I may have spent a little bit more time than necessary on each of them, but in my mind they deserve the attention, at least from me, and I hope that the attention you've given them is not, you feel is not gone to waste. These books are all available for sale. If any of you would like to write your family history, make a heritage, a family treasure out of them, I would be most humbled and proud, of course, in some way, to help. Thank you for your attention again, and I'll see you next time.